and fortunate to be here. And this session would talk about very interesting and challenging environment of talent. We will think upon how to attract talent, retain, and grow talent. I'm privileged to be part of this panel discussion with my esteemed co-panelist who comes with varying industry experiences, and and look forward to have a good discussion.
Likewise.
Yeah, and thank you. So, if, we are all witnessing steep growth in the GCC side of India, right? Exponential, I would say. Today we have around 1,600 GCCs and employed around 1.6 billion employees. And some of the reports suggest that we would be around 1,900 GCCs in India by 2025, which essentially means that every week 4 to 5 new GCCs would get set up in next 1 year, 1.5 years. And that essentially says that a lot of demand and need for the talent would continue to grow. Right? India has been the preferred location, or has emerged as a preferred location for setting up GCCs because of the accessibility of the large talent pool or digitally savvy talent pool. Cost effectiveness, we can debate whether now we are cost effective or not, but still, if you compare with other countries, we are still a lot more cost effective. And the infrastructure improvement, what's happening in the India, not only in the tier 1, tier 2 cities, now tier 3 and tier 4 cities emerging as a lot of great infrastructure. Moreover, India is the fastest growing economy, and every organization, every company would like to participate in this stuff, and that's where also probably GCC is following the trend. From the employment standpoint, I just want to put a few data points. Is that the GCC make over 30% of India's top employer. More than 60% of the top esteemed graduate join GCC, which essentially means that GCC has built an ecosystem or brand and able to attract the talent. But I don't think so it's sufficient. The way the growth is coming up, we need to do a lot more. Right? And as the GCCs became mature or becoming mature, they are no more the back office, which used to be a few years back that hey, you continue to do the back office work, but now they are core part of the core innovation. Right? They're part of the innovating core stuff for the parent organization. We have seen it. Some of the examples in the previous panel discussions are too. And with this growth, with this maturity, the talent is all the central part of it. Right? This is all why we have the GCC's ecosystem in India, because we have the healthy pool of talent. And so talent revolve around, and in this discussion probably we'll get some of the perspective from the industry leaders on how they are attracting, retaining, and investing in talent for the future. For the future. So one question I would like to put across to all of you is about attracting talent. So we'll start with you. How do you and your organization attract top talent in the competitive landscape, and how you differentiate your organization to the potential candidate?
I'm in the advisory business, so let me share what we typically render advisory around on talent ecosystem and the employer of choice. If you really look at it, right, I think then we just talked about the numbers of GCCs all around. I think one significant piece is how being able to differentiate yourself as an employer. That's where your talent hiring strategy starts from. And if you look at it, employer value proposition is nothing but a sum total of what an employee is going to walk out with or walk in with every single day, which is differentiated against remaining 1,599 odd as the GCCs that are probably offering the same kind of stuff, isn't it? So then really the choice is about is your compensation and benefits extremely competitive from an external point of view? Is your career and work-life practices fairly differentiated? Or is it your sense of purpose is so unique that people walk in having a perfect alignment between what their personal sense of purpose is with what you stand for as a firm? I think that's where the whole piece of some of the GCCs who are actually being able to go up the innovation piece, right, are really being able to stand out and say, hey, you know, I'm in the middle of solving a real problem. If I'm a life sciences GCC, for example, the amount of spends that we are seeing on, you know, actually spending on the new medicines that are being created or new molecules that are coming up. Are you a part of that journey, even being a GCC, which is so core to my parent organization, right? Or are you a retail captain who's actually sitting here and designing your quantum solutions and so on? The point I'm trying to make is, where does your differentiation narrative lie? Is it what you offer in terms of your base, or is it about the careers that you help your employees build, or is it really about solving a problem? And any of those could actually resonate with your employee to be able to become an employee of choice. But I'd love to hear a practitioner perspective.
Thank you so much. So for us, the journey has been a bit different. I started, you know, on day one was 1st of June 2022. You land up with a laptop and you're supposed to build a digital practice in Bangalore, which is the Silicon Valley of India. Nobody knows your organization. You are an agriculture equipment manufacturer, though you are the third largest and people know you everywhere. So for us, for me specifically, I will put it around two pieces. One was, why would people want to join me and not join an Infosys, a Microsoft, or Google? Because they are not going to be the best paymasters. So for me, the biggest point was connecting them to the purpose. So our purpose and our values are all around feeding the world. So we were just about hitting the 8 billion mark, and we said, for me, the point was connecting people and saying, yes, you will get to work on all the great stuff, but you will work in an organization which is connected to the higher purpose. I think that did connect and did result in one of the best attraction rates that I have seen in my career of over 2 decades. The second thing, which is very, very important for my piece, is a culture. Culture is just not a word that you see in a dictionary. It's about, I took care of a few things. We got rid of all offices, so we had all our leadership sitting among our employees. I didn't want to create those silos which get risen by putting, you know, glass doors where you have to look at an executive assistant to get a discussion with your leader. And I think that is, culture is all about being able to connect, being able to listen, and then being able to act. We actually started hiring after setting up the legal entity. And then, you know, over the last 18 months, we have almost hired 1,000 people. We probably have the best attraction and retention rates in the industry. And I think, and obviously there are other factors that guide, but for me the most important aspect is being there for your folks, connecting them with what you do, like what you said, with the purpose, and walking the talk every second that you're there in front of them, and that will drive a say-do ratio which will be really appreciated by your employees. Thank you.
Thank you. I come from a slightly different background. So I'm from Marvel Semiconductor, and 5 years back, most of the people, if I tell I'm from Marvel Semiconductor, they would say, what's Marvel and what's semiconductor? Thankfully, things have changed, right? Everybody knows semiconductor, and they tell me, saying like, you know, why semiconductor is so important. And thankfully, they know Marvel as well, rather than related me to a superhero. And they start calling me saying, hey, are you guys the superhero of semiconductor or the next generation of digital technology? Now, for us, what happens is that we being in semiconductor, which is electronics value chain, each product development is a cycle of 18, 24, and sometimes 36 months. And what we have seen is that a lot of people found semiconductor electronics as a tough job to do. And that was not the first choice for many people. Even though knowing that the compensation is one of the best that you can get versus others, but it takes 2 years, 3 years to get your first project done, and if you do 3 projects and then ask for promotion, versus getting promoted every 2-3 years in some of the other jobs. So we kind of divided our talent attraction piece into 2 sides. One for the fresh or the early career professionals, and one for the experienced professionals. The early career professionals is something where there's a lot of awareness that needs to be there, that beyond the 3 C's that the other 2 panelists have talked about, compensation, culture, and career, you need to know that how this piece of work that you do is critical to what the future is looking forward for all of us. So that importance, that belief in being part of the future development, whether it is all the AI that we are talking about, but any smart gadget in any smart city or any smart thing that we are doing day to day is built on those infrastructure. Going towards the lateral side is where the meaning or the purpose started coming in. A lot of people there are mostly from the PhD or master's background, and they look at those things like, hey, do I have patents in my resume? Do I have an ownership of a COE or a product from there or not? So creating those meaningful opportunities and being able to move up the India centers into having that center of excellence or competency and the product ownership enables those attraction path for the experience.
Great points. I think starting with purpose, I think that's what people are able to resonate, and giving them the right career path for differentiate the organization. Thank you. So the other one, once you attract, it's only important to retain that. And one key ingredient of that is the employee well-being. And once you come from the HR background, having the reward consultancy and reversal, so you can add a lot of value there. What trend you are seeing in the across the GCCs? What kind of initiative they are taking to prioritize the employee well-being and the teams?
Actually, if you really look at it from an employer standpoint, medical inflation is topping the charts and has already topped the charts, almost double of what regular inflation is at. So if you want to balance that out with well-being and how do you really get the best bang for your buck, because we are really adding headcount, you said in your opening remarks, right? All these things are looking for tremendous amount of growth and adding headcount. So if you really wear that hat and say, what are some of the key themes which are resonating with employees as well? I think the first of that is going to be really about demographic-based employee well-being programs. And when I say demographic-based, somebody who's really walking into your doors as a fresher probably would talk about your gym and your fitness and your if your pantry is really offering food and what is the kind of calorie count of that, something as basic as that. You talk about stress, every single employee is going to be talking about, hey, there's a lot of busy work and I'm stressed. But if you want to do a double click on what that stress means for different people, so somebody is really about, hey, I just need a breather and probably some amount of click if I'm going to get from an AI platform to say, just breathe easy, buddy, and you'll be fine. So something as simple as that, or actually being able to take a break and being able to use one of those gym or fitness facilities that your firm may be able to provide you with a tie-up for. Or something as deep as that people actually getting pushed to the other end of being completely burnt out and at a very, very dangerous step of feeling suicidal and so on and so forth. So this kind of an AI platform to be able to provide you a nudge to go and step out and see a psychiatric in your locality and so on. So first is really demographic based, right? So I'm talking about one single demographic type, then you move up the age bracket and you talk about mid-management and you start seeing a lot of issues given the lifestyle that we are in. Fertility has become a real issue, so fertility treatment coverage is a big piece. Preventive healthcare with the narrative of, you don't really solve, we talk about risk, right? But you don't solve for it when you're in the midst of that risk, you actually try to be a lot more preventive. So I think being preventive is really not just doing those annual health checkers, but actually using some of the analytics to curate programs which make sense, right? From that, what started happening is that OPD coverages started happening, right? So some of the young folks would actually say, hey, given the fact that the definition of family is undergoing a significant amount of change, we have our Gen Z, but they also have working parents and they have their own coverages. So probably the coverage that I need for myself is needs different, right? Could I have them be able to route it into OPD coverages? A lot of that conversation is happening. Again, demography based. So let's say maternity, pre-post natal coverage is always there, but really being able to go a step forward and actually implement areas about postpartum depression therapy, or go ahead or a step ahead and then you get into another life stage. And a real issue of menopause-based depression, and are you being able to do that therapy getting covered as part of OPD? for yourself and the partner as well, right? Because some of those pieces have to be sensitized across the continuum. So I believe that one significant piece is really about demography-based programs. Second is really huge amount of emphasis on critical illness cover, both in terms of preventive and if something was to happen, even coverage during the illness as well. And the third big theme on the well-being piece, I would think, is huge amount of focus on bringing it all together in a communication framework. Because you don't get to see the benefit of that well-being program if you don't even know about it. And most times we don't know about it till the time we go through an accident in our lives. And that sort of defeats the whole purpose, because as a firm, it is being provided for us to be probably much more resilient. Because if we are resilient as employer workforce, probably that will help us to be more resilient as an employer as well. So predominantly those are the themes that we are seeing on the well-being agenda.
Thanks for adding. One thing as a date is the health is very, very important. That's what people are, employees are looking up. But at the same time, as you rightly said, probably a lot of emails gets floated in our inbox that hey, these are the program, but nobody goes through. So as you rightly said, probably once people go through, experience that, then they realize that okay, how important and what organization are doing. Thank you. Yeah, and move on to the other question around hybrid. So, to you is that pandemic has COVID pandemic has part of that. A lot of work can be done remotely. Right? And post-pandemic, most of the organizations are in the hybrid sector, but everybody is defined the hybrid in their own way. Right? Some are 2 days, 3 days in the office per week. Some are rolling 10 days in a month, or rolling 15 days in a quarter, and so on and so forth. So, how do you balance the remote versus the remote versus in-office devices, keeping the productivity and employee again well-being and productivity?
Thank you so much. Great question. And I think all of us are trying to find the right answer. I don't think we figured it out what is the right answer. So for me, it is based on two fundamental principles. One is empowerment and second is trust. When we started, I decided that I'm going to go where the talent is. So today we have our talent which is in 18 different cities in India, and we don't have offices in 18 different cities. So even if I talk about hybrid or 2 days a week, 3 days a week, there are almost 14, 15 cities. We have offices in 3 cities in India. There are 15 cities where people cannot work and go into a physical office. So why should I make the others travel 2 hours every day to work? For 3 days a week when I know that others are going to be working from home and be having the flexibility. So we decided, I made a choice that we are going to base your throughput not on number of hours, not on maybe your online, but by your goals. Focus on the goals. I'm not perturbed by things like moonlighting. Even if it's happening, there is no way you can figure it out. I don't want to become the policeman, but I want to be the one who can give you goals which are achievable, which are measurable, practical to do, and give the flexibility to your employees. Trust me, when you empower them and trust them, they understand, they appreciate your ability to trust them. I have received some very positive feedback from my teams, and I have also talked to other folks. And I think that is going to be one solution that will take you back, because I'm telling you, my experience says people are not going to come back to 5 days a week. You will push them, they will revolt, and they'll leave your organization from go. So do what makes sense for you, but do it putting the employee at the center of what you do. And that will help you do. And that has resulted in some of the lowest attrition rates that we've seen. It's early days for us yet, but I'm very positive that this is something that I want to continue. So to summarize, empower, trust, give them goals that are measurable, evaluate their performance, and then take action. It doesn't matter whether they're in office. Where we have to get people to collaborate, they will come by themselves because they know they have a bigger goal to achieve. Thank you.
Actually, I'd just like to add to this. I don't know how many of you have really experienced, but when we make an offer to any of the new hires these days, the first question we usually get asked is, how many days are you expecting me to be in office? It's so fundamental, so flexibility, and just to give a wrap to what you just said, right? I mean, the whole concept of flexibility is so fundamental to an employment equation these days, that the absence of which has a significant significant impact on your overall value proposition. So I think how you sort of course, wrap it up and how you really deliver on it. In fact, some jobs do require you to be in office, and particularly in the manufacturing and so on and so forth. But really, I think, well said. I think it is really about the culture and how you continue to maintain that trust part of it. But I mean, my experience really has been that it's become a fairly core piece around value proposition.
I mean, I think flexibility is important. I put another angle is that I've seen it few employees want to come to office with some reason. They're able to get few people in the office, they want to hang around and meet with the people in person too, right? But they need some purpose to come. So now thanks for adding that. The next element in the talent is talent, right? And some of the reports suggest that probably by 2030 India will have 20,000 global roles. And to build that scale, and I'm sure GCCs has to really build or create an innovative way of developing the talent pipeline, right? And also create an atmosphere where they can go and develop the global talent. So I mean, the question to you is that how you are building the talent pipeline in your organization, and which is sustainable.
Sure. Thankfully, this is not the war, right? This is more building the talent. So what's happening, if I would say, in the last 2 decades, most of the time when many of these design centers or India centers started, the usual path every company has that for some time you have the path for individual contributors, and then sub-stage it starts flattening out into a couple of different paths, whether you continue on individual contributor or a technical ladder versus moving into a management ladder. At least a decade back, what used to happen that once you reach to that, and then maybe you get bifurcated into that, and then you realize that in the tech ladder you are getting stuck at that principal engineer or something like that, because the roles beyond that needed so-called as a presence near where the customer is or where the new architecture is being defined. And hence, people were stuck at what we call as a principal engineer, and there's no path for being a distinguished engineer or fellow from here. That's what is changing with this whole concepts of the India Center moving away from the denominator play of cost into the numerator of value, which is driven by the COE or the product ownership. Now that gives a path for the people to go beyond that principal engineer to start becoming the distinguished or the fellow of the organization. So what many of us in the technology company do, and we specifically do, is that we do have a annual career event, and then followed by many career conversations over the year, where we host the CTOs and the fellows from the worldwide in our India office to have a one-on-one interaction with them, give them inputs on what they have done in their past to get to those tech ladders, and then be able to mentor and guide them for also to get them there. We run very specific technical accelerator programs so that people can also understand that it's not just about solving a complex problem, patenting a new idea or something like that. It is also being about to sell your idea, right? So there is something around sales piece that needs to be done. There's also about something about a business or a finance awareness, so that the new idea doesn't make business sense. That needs to be built in as well, right? So there's a lot of skills development on that, coaching, mentoring by the CTOs and the fellows, and then giving them time in their cycle to go spawn an idea, be able to do it in a year, and then submit and showcase it to the world. And out of 50, 10 gets selected or gets into the product. That's a good win, and it's a path forward for their journey on the tech ladder. So that's our biggest focus, to drive the technical ladders, because we're growing many managers, directors, VP, but we're trying to now grow the distinguished engineers and fellows in the organization.
I think, as the UCC is taking more center stage, what I've seen that earlier we used to have hackathons in the local level, now it's becoming global, right? To develop those kind of talent, probably, that gives the opportunity. You all understand the needs of diversity and inclusion. It's not just to build an inclusive society, but rather it is more of building an edge in your business, right? Because diverse point of view matters a lot when you in your business. So My question to to you is that how do how do diversity play in your GCC or your organization, and how do you ensure that you have a right kind of stake built in when you hire people or you set a workforce? You want to?
I'll take a shot. I think it's a topic right now which has a lot of visibility across our enterprise. So the best thing I would say is don't work on it because you have a metric to report. Do it because you believe it is going to happen. Because if you try to do the metric reporting, it is skewed and the output will not be there for you. So we don't intentionally report a metric, though within our leadership groups we do know that we don't measure diversity only as a percentage. And it's very easy to do that because you hire people at the lower levels in the organization. You look very good in your metrics and that's fine. I look at diversity as gender for now, and obviously it is expanded, the definitions have expanded. We are fairly new in that journey, and I say at my own leadership level, can I have gender diversity representation? So let's work on it's not quanta, it's a total number, but different levels. And also we do a lot of work on the cultural biases. We work with a lot of our HR leaders across the world to make sure that when we bring in the talent, they don't feel that there are a lot of assumptions being made. That, for example, I'm a new mother and I cannot be there in the office to attend a late night deployment. That's not fair. And we need to work through, and these are sometimes conscious and unconscious, and I'm not an expert in this area. But we create that environment where they feel that they're cared for, and provide, and coupled with my earlier answer on flexibility. If you can bring those things together, it becomes a win-win. Thank you.
Sure. I think to keep the spirit alive of the conversation, I'd like to focus more on the inclusion part of it and diversity itself, right? And the point that Amit just made about what's the sense of fairness about practices. Right? I mean, people could be in different life stages and probably needing some kind of workarounds, and having that choices available itself is inclusion. Right? Diversity, of course, has moved much beyond the gender imperative, though the focus in terms of metrics, to your point, Amit, continues to remain heavily loaded onto the gender part of it, but generational and of course in India not so much on ethnicity and race, but those are important areas to look at. People with disabilities, when I think GCCs particularly, and also technology firms at large, do a lot more on people with disabilities, because it's from a talent equation, it's almost to a point, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. You don't want to lose out on any good talent for certain things, and you can actually make do with a lot of arrangements and work to actually pull in the talent and help them with their best. So that is one. Second is, I think the metric part of it completely resonates with me. Actually, at Mercer, we do a signature study which actually alludes to when women thrive, businesses thrive, where there is hardcore evidence data backed output to say, if you have a diverse voice out there, right, and diverse, again, going back to the same principle that diversity could mean different things to different people, but really if you have much more diverse voice out there, you probably have a much more enriched ecosystem to thrive from a business angle. Right? So in that sense, I think lots can be done. And the simplest thing to do really is, if you have a good percentage or you have a good mix at entry level, for example, most firms could talk about almost 40-60 at entry level, which drops to a single digit number at senior levels. A good thing to take note of is, where is the choke point appearing? What's really happening? Why are people dropping off the charts? Doing a little bit of that labor market analysis for yourself, and then to be able to see how does the external market respond to it, right? I mean, this is very similar. If yes, do I need to do something about it? And when you start doing something about it, you naturally start taking out biases from the processes itself, and you make it a much more equitable ecosystem for everybody to thrive. I think that's my take on diversity and inclusion, to start with inclusion and then move towards diversity.
No, the quote is very nice, is that diversity is there, equity is must, and inclusion is the outcome. Right? That's what it is. So I know, in interest of time, I'll just quickly move on. And one topic I definitely wanted to touch upon is the emerging trend in telecom. We have seen it, the things are changing so fast. The technology is changing. We need a different people. At the same time, gig workforce is coming into the market. People don't want to work permanently; they want to work a few hours. What kind of what you are observing? Maybe if I start with you, what you are observing, and how do you think that is going to change the landscape of talent acquisition?
I think two good points there. One from a technology angle, one from a human angle. Technology angle, there's a lot of multidisciplinary focuses coming in, especially if I talk about semiconductor. There used to be design days, which used to be electrical, electronics, and some level of computer science. With the whole manufacturing and other ecosystem coming in, it's becoming a multidisciplinary angle from physics, the chemistry, the metallurgy, mechanical, along with all others in that. So there's a lot of, I would say, talent pool that we have started looking, and they started asking, can I go back to the basic science and then be part of the semiconductor rather than just the core electrical or computer engineering. So that's one side of the technology. And the human side, I would say, there's a lot of focus now on what we call as personalization. I think a lot of people sees that what's in it for me, and my belief whether I want to give back to a community or my university, whether I want to learn something as a hobby or a practice, and all of those beliefs. So the personalization is making a change into the office where the policies, the work environment, and everything else is no more driven by the top down, it is more bottoms up in that personalized way.
So thank you. Now we are up for the times. Sorry, we can't take the question from the audience. But, we are around. I'm sure we can catch up with the break. To just sum up, thank you everyone for the great insights to it. Talent war, as we said, probably the demand has continued to grow. Talent war will continue. I think we need to create a more pipeline for the talent than fighting the talent internally and create a very good position for the employees. Thank you everyone. Thank you.